We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Mental Health Awareness right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest today is Colleen Franklin. We're going to be talking about kind of reconnecting to yourself when you feel overwhelmed and life has just got you down. It's for those that carry more than what they should, from overwhelmed to inner balance. She is a RCC, and she became a counselor because she wanted to help people understand themselves and their struggles in a way that opens the door to healing, growth, and joy again. So many people move through life feeling disconnected from whom they really are. She's passionate about helping them reconnect with themselves and find a steadier, more hopeful way forward. Her focuses are on supporting people who are carrying trauma, burnout, overwhelm, people who often feel lost in the noise of life and need a space to breathe and realign. She wants her clients to feel seen, heard, valued from the incredible worth that they bring into the world. She believes that people have a strength within them that they don't always recognize, and that they have already survived and overcome so much, and yet they continue to show up, strive, and fight for something better. They deserve support that honors their resilience and helps them move forward in a way and a life that they want. So she's a registered clinical counselor based here in Nanaimo, BC, and the founder of Sandstone Counseling. Her path to this work grew after a lifelong curiosity about how people make sense of their emotions and navigate the harder seasons of life. Over time, she's built a practice grounded in compassion, clarity, and deep belief that people deserve to feel reconnected to themselves and find that joy again, something that's quite elusive to so many people. Today, she supports adults working through that trauma and burnout and grief and life transitions, as well as first responders. My God, do they need help? And outside of her counseling work, she is a mum, a nature lover, and someone who values calm, connection, and authenticity. Whether she's in a session or out in the community, her goal is to create space where people feel supported, understood, empowered, and to move forward in a way that's truly true to them. Amen, sister. A lot of people ask me that why do I do an awful lot of mental health shows around this time of year, Christmas
Mm-hmm.
time. And actually from, years of understanding and knowledge and doing this for so long, this is one of the toughest times of years for many, many people. If they're already overwhelmed, then there's Christmas and present buying, and you've got to be cheerful, and people are
Yeah.
coming over. You've got to go over to someone you don't particularly want to go over to. There's always overwhelm to be had. And I find at this time of year, it kind of escalates. And really, what we need to do is find where's our compass? Where's our core? How do we go back to the core of ourselves where our peace is, no matter what the chaos is around us? Right, Colleen?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think was a great introduction. Thank you. Yeah, I think this time of year is so hard for people, especially those that are struggling with mental health, anxiety. If you grew up in a household that maybe wasn't very healthy, there's a lot of trauma around that and what Christmas should be or what Christmas wasn't. And it brings up lots of feelings of like loneliness and isolation and sadness. And so, how do we help people sort of adapt and adjust their expectations and move forward and kind of embrace the holidays in a way that feels good for them and not a way that they should
Yes.
experience the holidays?
And, to know their own boundaries and also how to let other people know their boundaries. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
harder. Once you've discovered what your boundary is, how do you tell other people, sorry, that's my boundary?
yeah, yeah. I think boundaries are so hard for people with mental health challenges. It just feels overwhelming, or
Mm,
often those that struggle with boundaries struggle because the people around them don't necessarily respect their boundaries. And
mhm,
so even when they're asserted, they're being ignored. And so how do we manage that? How do we make our boundaries heard when they're not being listened to? And so it's just about getting people to like really think about, I work with a lot of people and we practice, like I really role model like what you can
mm,
say
mhm,
verbatim, like, you know, I'm oh sorry, I can't do that. And then I coach them to like, and then you need to leave and go to the bathroom and
mhm.
do so, like, so you don't have to stand in the awkwardness of it,
Yes.
but just say what you need to say. And that is so hard. And so how do we find that courage to sort of say, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do. Maybe if I want to do these Christmas things, then I need to take some other things off my plate because otherwise
Mm.
it's not going to end well. I'm going to end up overwhelmed and unhappy and really, really stressed.
And we want you to be happy at this time of year. We want you to be happy all the way through the year. But this
Yeah,
is the year where kind of joy and happiness is heightened. And, for some people, it's like, I can't get there. And, whatever we're
right.
talking about around Christmas today, this is something applicable to every single day of your life. Right.
Yeah.
So, whatever skills and tools we're going to share today around this time period can be applied at any time. But I've, again, chosen this time because I know it's such a stressful time for so many people. I have two
Hmm.
children's birthdays, 15th and 30th of December.
Oh,
And
wow.
I used to do Christmas for my in-laws and Christmas Day for the family and whoever else came over. And for me, December was just, overwhelmed. When by the time January came in, I was flattened
Yeah,
completely. Um, and I took it on. Yes, I took it on. But I was also expected to take it on because Sarah can do it. Right.
yeah,
So, and it's like how nobody kind of acknowledged the struggle or
yeah,
the and the anxiety and everything else until kind of mum blew up. And they're now kind of looking at me and I'm feeling awful for blowing up. Right.
right.
And it's like nobody's kind of reading the signs. How do we put the signs out without saying red flag?
Yeah, like the signs like this is what I can do, this is what I can't do. And I
Mhm,
think it's first we have to really reflect about like what are the expectations of me around Christmas? Of maybe what are other people's expectations of me or my belief of other people's expectations? And what am I willing to do and not do? What like I don't want to feel exhausted, overwhelmed, burnt out, and
mhm.
angry come Christmas. That's not fun for you or anybody
No.
else. And so, how do I sit back and go, what am I willing to do? And what is too much? So, maybe I'm not
Mm,
going to make all the homemade gifts and cards and fresh
mm,
baking this year. Maybe that's the thing I'm going to give up, but then I'm going to host the dinner and
mm.
I'm going to buy the baking or someone else can do it.
Yeah.
And so, just being really practical, right? But I think it's often about pre planning because
Yes.
we often just go in blindly, like, it'll be fine. Saying no is uncomfortable. So, I'll make this work, right? And that's so hard. And so when we kind of stand back and know what we're walking into and we set it up ahead of time, we have a little more confidence when we're saying, you know what, I can't do that, or I can, but this is what it's going to look like, or this is what I'm going to need from other people in order to make that happen. And just being really realistic. And the beauty is when we're able to do that, we actually don't feel so wiped out when we get to our
Exactly.
holiday. We might get to enjoy some of it and not feel completely run down and totally overwhelmed.
It's like the conductor in the orchestra playing all the instruments as well, right?
Hmm.
Delegate, delegate, delegate. Even have it be a potluck Christmas. I'm going to make the turkey. Can someone else do the vegetables? Can someone else do the
Yeah,
pie? Right? And make it an
100%.
inclusive one. And it's like, for me, it was always because the way I was brought up is you did everything. You did
Hmm.
everything. I love potlucks. Now do that for all the other events. But when it came to
Hmm.
Christmas and things, it was kind of it felt like my duty to do. And I know an awful lot of people feel this way. We're
Yeah,
in a new era where just what has been doesn't necessarily still has to be.
yeah,
And to say, look, um, this is what I'm prepared to do. Right, I'm hosting it at my house. I'll do the turkey, easier to go in and out and not good transferable. Can so and so do vegetables, so and so do this, so and so do that. And if anybody wants to come and help me clean the house beforehand, I'm open because you never know until you ask of how many people say,
take
of course,
donations for the
sir.
housekeeper ahead of time. I take $20 donations for the
Yes,
housekeeper.
yes, yes, absolutely. Because if we don't ask, People expect
Right.
you to do everything. But when we say, look, this is what I can manage, who else can do X, Y, and Z? They feel, oh, I can do that, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like they're contributing, and that's great because when you are either a people pleaser or a doer, right? You feel expected to do all the time, and this is whether it's Christmas or whether it's business or whether it's
Yeah.
family. Part of our overload and stress is that we don't know how to say no, we don't know
Yeah.
how to delegate, and we
Hmm.
don't know how to receive.
Yes. Receiving is a hard one for
Yes.
people.
Mm,
Yeah, I like this idea of a potluck. We do it in
mm,
my family too. Christmas
mm.
big meals at family events. It's potluck style because it's not
Yeah.
all on somebody.
Yes.
And I like what you're saying about this idea, right? Of just because we did it that way before, absolutely
Mm,
does not mean that's the way we
mm.
need to do it now.
Yeah.
It's looking at family traditions and saying, what works for me? What do I want to keep? What feels
Mm.
good? And what feels outdated and doesn't
Yeah.
work anymore? And like, great that mom used to do all that, but maybe mom was a homemaker. And so she had
Yes.
all month to prepare. And
Yes.
you're a full-time working mom. And
Mm.
so that expectation isn't fair to hold anymore.
And if you're not even a full-time mom, worker, but you're full-time mom,
Yeah.
you've got the Christmas concerts, you've got the
Yeah.
Christmas party, along with the other two birthdays I had. But my kids had friends with birthdays in the same month, right? And so, it was like chuck a block. And then, if the kids are young, taking them to see Santa and if this and that. And it's like
Yeah.
every day. And then you've got
Yeah.
to wrap the presents, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And it's like, how do we set our boundaries? And we're not going to do that this year, or dad is going to go and do that this year,
Yeah.
right? Or auntie and uncle are going to go and take them off to see so and so or whatever this year. Um,
Yeah.
Again, I don't think in the overwhelm of things and the reason why we get stressed out, and then it's the reason why we get depressed because we don't know how to delegate. Oh,
Yeah.
we don't know how to receive. When it says like, someone, can I help? Oh no, don't worry, I've got it.
Right.
Don't say that.
What would you like to do? I'm happy to help. That's great.
Exactly. Exactly. If we don't ask, right? How do they
Yeah.
know?
And like you said, people like to help.
Mm,
Maybe they don't want to take on the whole event or they don't
right.
want to host it at their house, but they're happy to help and bring something. And so harness that energy and
Mm,
say, yeah, let's all participate and everybody does something. And yeah, it feels better for everybody. They're all invested in it somehow then.
yeah. And like, aunties and uncles, can you go and take them for this event? Right. And if they've got kids, maybe you can take their kids, giving them a break and vice versa.
Yeah.
It's like, if you are running a business, you have to have a strategy and you have to
Yeah.
have a plan. Otherwise, your business is going to go out the back door. And so it's the same way as running a household, and it's the same way as running your life.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting with that is people can hold boundaries and expectations in their work life
Hmm.
that they can't hold in their personal
Yeah.
life. So they have the skill set, but they struggle to transition that into their personal life because they're like, but that's hard with family, that's hard
Hmm.
with friends. And it's like, well, we need to like really transfer that because that is what's going to make you successful.
Hmm. I think it's the dialogue they don't know.
Hmm.
How do you tell people you can't or you're unavailable or no without feeling rude? And I think
Yeah.
that's what people are missing and nobody's really teaching is the verbiage that we use in
Yeah.
our boundaries. So can you share some ideas where people can actually say, no, thank you, or not at this time, or I'll only do a little.
Yeah, it's funny. Lots of people that have hard time with boundaries, they go, "No, I can't," and then they jump into a long story to get
Yes.
to give a full explanation of
Yeah.
why they can't because they don't want to upset somebody.
Uh-huh.
And so, for sure, I really work with people to just be like, you know what? Unfortunately, I'm not available to do that. I have other commitments. Or if we struggle in the moment to have an answer, to just buy ourselves time so we can then get back to them and say, you know what? I have to check with my partner or I have to check my calendar, can I let you know? And then we
Mhm,
can get back to them when we've had a little bit of prep time to say, oh,
mhm,
you know what? Unfortunately, I'm not available and come up with a polite kind of exit. And that other piece I said, like just sometimes learning how to set a boundary and be like, you know what? I can't do that. And then removing ourselves from a person that maybe can't hear our boundaries and
yeah.
not letting them guilt us and feel bad about it, where we just go, oh, I'm not able to do that. Oh, you know what? Someone's at the door. I have to get off the phone, or I
Mhm,
have to run to the bathroom. Just a polite exit. and then it's just a done conversation.
And you know, sometimes, especially if it's a family member, I find sometimes people don't hear dialogue.
Hmm.
Drop them a note.
Yeah,
In this today's world, instead of a note, a text, nice one,
yeah,
or an email, right? And just,
yeah,
thank you for da 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 da. But just at the present moment, I've got as much on my plate as I can cope with. So I'm so sorry.
yeah.
But in the future, if we plan ahead, maybe I can, right?
Right. It's that polite exit, right? And so again, that's the kind of stuff I sit and role model with people in session. Like, what can you say to 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 get out of it without just being like no or over explaining, right? That piece of, oh, I'm not available, unfortunately, I have something else going on. Do we have to say what that is?
You're
No,
right.
we don't. Or I've decided to do less this year and I've already got some other commitments. And so that's
Mm,
my day of rest and
yeah,
I'm going to spend it with my family.
yeah. Now let's talk about another big subject that not only is brought up at this year, but it's highlighted at this year is grief.
Okay.
When people
Yeah.
have had loss. And, if the unfortunate thing about this time of year is also a very high suicide time. And it's
Hmm.
also a time that people who are already alone because they've lost loved ones or they're far away from family, and loneliness
Hmm.
kills. So I want to talk about
Yeah.
loneliness because that's part of the grief, but also grief in itself. Somehow around this time of year, and kind of any celebration at any time of the year, if somebody's lost a family member, they almost feel guilty in being joyful.
Yeah. 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 That's so true. Grief this time of year, especially with a new grief
Mm,
or complicated grief, can just feel so big and overwhelming. And I often, in these moments, refer people to hospice. I know hospice does a
mm,
beautiful, non-religious
yeah.
Christmas ceremony to remember those that have passed, which is a really beautiful
Hmm.
way to just kind of honor our loved ones.
And
And I
incorporate
talk
them. Hmm.
Yeah. And I talk with people about like, okay, like how do we honor this person? Like, is it okay for us to be happy and have joy, but we can still honor and remember the person that we love? Like what's important to us? How do we bring them into our festivities? Is it making something that they love, like a favorite meal or a favorite
Mm,
drink? Is it having a special picture of them out? Is it everybody going around and telling a story
yes.
about this person that they remember to just sort of, honor them and honor that part of you that's missing them and knows that they're not?
And it's okay, have the tissue boxes out. It's okay to have a
Absolutely.
good cry, right? And the thing is, nobody wants to be forgotten in life or in death.
Yeah.
And like, oh no, they're gone, we won't talk about them. And it's like, no, you need to talk about them because that's part
Yeah.
of your release. They
Yeah.
want you to talk about them because they don't want you to, they never counted, right? So
Right.
the energy of who they are and what they meant to you is still within you. So
Hmm.
keep that alive, talk about them. I love the idea of everybody sharing a story,
Yeah.
right? Because that makes their presence there. You can laugh, you can cry, and then you can
Yeah.
toast them, right? And then go back to the living.
And I also talk about the idea of rituals and routines when we talk
Mm,
about grief. So even when it's not Christmas Day,
mm,
but over the holidays, as I'm thinking of that person and missing them, grief is so it's invisible, right? People
mm,
can't see it. And so sometimes doing something external to honor that person to just help us remember. So lighting a candle and being like, this is my candle
yeah,
that I light when I'm thinking of this person to just show
yeah.
that they're in my heart. Or I put flowers out or whatever is
Mm,
important to you to just kind of have something to look at to put that
yeah.
love that we have for that person somewhere.
And it doesn't have to be a recent demise,
No,
right?
no, no.
Loss is loss, and there are particular times of year where you feel it even more so than other
Mhm.
times, right? And we see an awful lot, as I say, to suicide, and then
Yeah,
people say, well, should I mourn them differently? Because guilt comes into it. Now, how
yeah.
do people deal with guilt at this time, feeling that they should have done more, they should have seen more, and they don't deserve to be happy because, they didn't see it?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I think any suicide, there's always the what if.
Hmm.
What if I had done something? What if I had seen something? What if I knew? But the reality is when someone commits suicide, it's often impulsive and we
Hmm.
can't know because they didn't want us to know the depth of their
Right,
struggling.
right.
And yeah, that guilt that shows up, I think again, it's it's maybe writing yourself a letter of forgiveness,
Mm,
and honoring that you love this person and you didn't know, and that's okay, right? I think that's something, doesn't matter if it's the holidays or not.
hmm.
People struggle with that guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you write them a letter. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry I didn't see it. I'm so sorry, I wasn't there enough for you, and I
Yeah.
really do believe that if you could go, beyond the veil and ask each one of them, did you really mean to die? I would say
Right.
98% of them say no, I was just asking for a call of help. Or
Yeah.
I was in such despair, I didn't know what else to do. And
I
so,
was mentally unstable and I did
yes,
not make, I just
yes.
was not, I think so much suicide is so much about, like people think of suicide all the time. It's
Mm,
actually a common thing and we are so
yes.
afraid of it because it's so serious. But it's people don't want to die. They want the
Mm,
pain to stop and they just don't know
absolutely.
how to make the pain stop.
I used to suffer a great deal from depression, and I seem to have got a handle on it now, touch wood. Um,
Yeah.
I found what resets me so I don't go down the rabbit hole.
Mm,
But for a
yeah.
long time there, I'd go down that rabbit hole. And if I heard one more person tell me to snap out of it,
Mm.
probably throttle
Think happy
somebody.
thoughts.
Yeah, yes. And the thing is, they've got to understand it's got nothing to do with your thoughts. It's
Right.
like there is no rationale, there is no negotiation. It is a despair that
Yeah.
somebody's come in and pulled your guts right out.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you can't breathe. And
Hmm.
everything about you is in such despair, and you don't know how to handle it. And it's,
Yeah.
I went on medication for a short while, and that kind of took me out of the rabbit hole. And then I found techniques. A lot of it is music, because
Hmm.
music I find, resets me, recalibrates me.
Yeah.
But you've got to find out, what is it? Is it for you that brings you back to center, that brings you back
Yeah.
to your equilibrium? And it's like preferably without the drugs, unless it's really kind of bipolar or this or that, then that's different. But we really want you to find that place where you feel is home and safe. What would you
Hmm.
suggest for people who are feeling or on the edge of that before they hit that despair of what to do?
Yeah. I think I always talk to people about it's easier to know our warning signs that
Yes.
I'm building up to that. Or I feel like I'm
Yes.
kind of moving in that direction because the sooner we can catch ourselves, the
Yeah,
easier it is to pull back out of it,
exactly.
right? The easier it is to implement a tool that's going to be more effective than when we're already down that hole. And so, yeah, I think it's different for everybody, but like, what do we do to help us in those moments? I think it's journaling,
Hmm.
connecting with friends, it's exercise. It's different for everybody. Like you said, it's
Mm,
music. If you're a
hmm.
music lover, if you're an artist, right?
Hmm.
What are you passionate about?
Yeah.
Because no one tool ever works to
No,
fix us.
no, no,
It's
there's not a
about
one
a
size fits all.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about a lifestyle and I want to have many tools. So when I'm struggling, I can try this and I can
Hmm.
try that and I can do a little bit of everything. And maybe journaling is great today, but tomorrow I don't want to. So
Hmm.
what's the thing I can do tomorrow?
Yeah.
And and adjusting our expectations. People are like, "Well, I'm not working out 5 days a week and I
Mm,
should." You're like, "Okay, could you go for a walk around the block though?
yeah.
Like, does that feel accessible to you today?" So let's just bring it way back down to something
Yeah.
that's easy that you're likely to succeed at versus just shaming yourself for what you should be doing again.
Yeah. The techniques is knowing your triggers,
Yeah.
recognizing your triggers. Now, I'm a dyslexic, and I know one of the triggers is when the dyslexia really shows up. Right.
Hmm.
I start seeing my words reversing and this and that, or letters reversing, and I go, "Ooh, trigger, warning.
Yeah.
I'm taking on
Yeah.
too much. I need to either say no or step away. I need maybe a break."
Yeah.
I've got ADD as well. And so, it's giving the brain something to do. And very
Hmm.
often, I'll give my brain an exercise, a work to do, or watch a movie while
Hmm.
and that's kind of keeping, the brain active watching the movie, but while I'm actually going in and recentering.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it's kind of, you've got to go through the process. What works for you when? because it
Yeah,
isn't
it's
like it's going
trial
to
and
work.
error, really.
It is trial and error, and they're willing to go for that trial and error. Don't reach for the drugs
Yeah,
unless it's, unless you're really at that rabbit hole. But before you
yeah.
get to that rabbit hole, you've got to try what works for you. And it could be a
Hmm.
jog, some, as you said, painting, for me, music, for some people, going for a walk in nature. Being
Yeah,
around children and animals is wonderful because there's
yeah,
so much
yeah.
in life that you just get pulled in. And I've got three
Hmm.
grandbabies, so they're really
Oh,
good
no.
tonic for me.
Yeah.
Um, and it's knowing what it is. But it also, I think it's, if you're overwhelmed at work or you're overwhelmed with family, to actually saying to them, excuse me, I'm in an overwhelmed moment. I
Yeah,
need to go and take care of myself at the present moment. I'm going to
yeah.
be not helpful to you in any way. And to do that with authority over yourself and without
Hmm.
it, not even inviting judgment from anyone else.
Right. Not asking permission, but stating your need.
Exactly,
I need to
exactly,
go for a walk around the block. I'll be back in 15 minutes. Right.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And, again, for people that are either people pleasers or doers, um, that is very, very hard to do. And
Right.
but that is something that's part of our own well-being, is that we need to know
Mhm.
when time out.
Right. And I think they know when they're overwhelmed, they
Mm.
struggle to assert that, right? And
Yes.
that's a lot of the work that I do with people is
Hmm.
like, how do we help you find your voice?
Hmm.
How do we help you express your needs and not just cater to everyone else's?
And how do you find out what your need is?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, as I talk to people, they talk about like, oh, this doesn't feel good and I feel overwhelmed. And it's like, oh, okay, well, what would you like that to look
Mm.
like? And often the response is, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's the work, is we spend
Yes.
time kind of pulling it apart, going, well, what does feel good to you other times? Oh,
Mm.
you like this, you like that, you don't like big groups. Okay, so do you think that this and this connect? Oh, yeah, yeah. Do you think this would feel better
Mm.
instead of what you're doing? Yeah, that would feel better, right? So we're just kind of creating a mental image and
Hmm.
roadmap for like, what is it they're saying no, wanting to say no to, and what do they want to do instead of just saying no and then saying yes to somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why we need someone like you, because we can't always have, I'm a big one for dialogue in the mirror, but it doesn't mean
Yeah.
the person in the mirror has all the answers, right? It's just a good way to spend, your frustration. And sometimes you just need to vent and it's out, or you need to question. But this is why we need people like you who are there to kind of reflect back what we're saying and what other options are there, because we
To
can't
break it
see,
apart.
break it apart. We can't always see what the
Yeah.
options are. We can't always
Yeah.
see what solutions, or a very easy tool to apply that you hadn't thought about, because we're too
Hmm.
much in it to be able to see how to get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Or people know the tools they should do, but they're like too busy doing everything for everyone else, right? And it's like,
Exactly.
okay, but how do we pull back? How do we pull
Mm,
back, right? And like, is this really working for you? Are you feeling really happy? Like there's a reason you've come, right? And so
mm,
usually by the time they're coming, they're like, yeah, it's not working. And I am willing to maybe start doing little pieces here and there, and we work on building that and really giving them confidence that, look, you did it. It might have been 5 minutes, but you did it, or you said no. What did you get from that when you didn't have to show up at that event?
yeah.
Right? What was your night like? Oh, it was so much better and I wasn't stressed. Yeah, it must have felt really good, right?
And that doesn't mean you're going to say no to every event. It's just knowing when you need to say no rather
Yeah,
than yes, right? And I think as a
absolutely.
society, we're not taught to pay attention to ourselves, of what we feel comfortable with, and we do say to people, push yourself out of your comfort zone. To a point, absolutely. We need to always be moving forward, and not being afraid or not being complacent and using it as an excuse. But it's how do we move forward and push ourselves forward in a way that we feel safe and comfortable?
Sometimes pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is having a boundary,
Yes, yes.
right? For a lot of people, that is the thing. It's like, and I think when we push ourselves out of our comfort zones, I think that if you break that down, that's being more strategic, right? Oh,
Mm,
I'm gonna say yes to public speaking. I'm strategically choosing what's gonna help me grow as a person,
mhm.
not just always living it. Because I think if we're always out of our comfort zone, we're anxious and overwhelmed, and that's
Yes,
not where we want to
yes.
be. That's not strategic. That's just I don't know what to do.
Let's talk about fear. Because,
Mm.
fear of public speaking or fear of saying no to aunt or mum,
Yeah,
fear of
yeah,
something. We're in a society that in the world at the present moment where we just see fear escalated like a tornado and, everything to be afraid of, be afraid of AI, be afraid
yeah,
of government, be afraid of this. And everybody's in
yeah,
a heightened state. And it's like, God, well, what am I meant to be afraid of today? And
yeah,
it's like, how do we take that deep breath and go, I can only do what I can do.
yeah.
Right? And face that fear that is in front of me and not get caught up in the tornado that's all around me.
Yeah, and that's really like that's I think that's a piece about working living our life in a place of grounded and connectedness,
Mm,
right? That's like learning how to regulate because when I'm regulated, I'm not seeking external validation or other people's opinions. I'm not anxious. I'm choosing that this feels good or this doesn't.
mhm,
And so an exercise I often do with people is like, they're like, well, I don't know, I should do this and I don't want to say no, right? I'm like, okay, so I want you to envision yourself going to do that thing. How does your body feel? And they're like, oh, I'm so stressed and I'm so tired. And I'm like, I want you to envision that you were able to say no to that and you're able to go do something that fills you up. How does your body feel? Oh, it feels so much better. And I'm like, so body already knows. We
mm.
intuitively know what we need. We are just so used to cutting it off and not listening.
Yes. I recently did two public speaking. Now, I've been doing this for over 13 and a half years and I can interview anybody in the world, no problem. But, getting up and standing up speaking, I hadn't done in a long time. And I did one with slides and actually
Hmm.
didn't feel as comfortable. Because
Oh,
I'm being
interesting.
I'm being distracted by my own slides. And then I
Okay.
did one that was longer, that was just me organically talking. First half of me sharing, second half of me incorporating other people's stories
Hmm.
into it as well. And that, even though I had a migraine coming on, I was completely in flow. But
Okay.
so, the moral of the story is, Sarah, leave the slides alone.
Hmm.
Right? You can have a slide takeaway if they want, make it for them to
Yeah.
take away afterwards, but be organically yourself. And if it's not enough for
Hmm.
people, that's their choice,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's knowing, learning through trial and tribulation. That works for me, that doesn't. Feel confident here,
Yeah.
don't feel quite so confident there. And then
Yeah.
stick to the lane that you know that you're where your strength is.
And have realistic expectations. I did a public speaking event on AI, which is not my thing, and like
Mm,
mental health.
mm.
And I way overstressed about it, put too much pressure on myself. And the day of, I said, you know what? It's okay if I'm good enough. I
Exactly.
don't I don't need all these notes. I'm smart. I can answer questions. Like
Hmm.
I did my
Hmm.
homework. I'm okay if I'm good enough. And I think I was better than good enough. But I was like, but I don't have to like put all this pressure on myself.
Right. And AI, let's talk about that. Last night on the TV show Watson, they had a kid who was on the spectrum and have an AI identity, encouraging him to do things.
Okay.
Right, that he shouldn't do. And it wasn't necessarily to harm someone, but it was like there was a girl that he liked. And
Okay.
it was kind of interesting, how they incorporate that because they always go about people who have kind of different type of health obstacles. But
Hmm.
we are seeing cases of people going to AI for therapy, and we
Yeah.
have seen cases of suicide
Yeah.
because AI is not telling them to commit suicide. It's just they're just addressing the topic, and then the person who's in that despair looks, oh, that's an easy way out. So yes,
Right.
we've got to. I've spoken to AI when I've felt depressed, right?
Yeah.
And it will give me, have you tried this, A, B, C, D, A, D, or go for a walk, or do this, or do that. There's still got to be onus from ourselves of who
Hmm.
and what we listen to for advice.
Yeah. Yeah. I think AI is so interesting because as I did that research and learned more about it from the mental health perspective, the concern with AI is they doesn't have guardrails. So some
Yeah,
AI apps are like, if you say suicide, we cut you off. We're done.
right.
We don't go down that road. Other AI apps say, okay, we'll never turn someone away. But
Mm.
who's you guys only assume is the person that's telling
Oh,
you the
sorry, love,
data that's,
your audio just went funny there for a moment.
oh, is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. AI is only as good as the knowledge it has. and it
And
doesn't
it's human
understand,
knowledge.
and it's human knowledge, but it doesn't
Yes.
understand nuances. It doesn't
Yes.
understand the other dynamics. It doesn't always have a whole picture. It has a picture of what the person's giving it, and that
Yeah.
person's not well, so they don't have a clear picture.
Right.
And so there's a lot of concerns around that, right? I mean, sure, AI is great if you need some coping tools. I'm having a panic attack. What can
Yeah.
I do? AI can give you some really good hands-on in the moment tools, I think.
Right.
Is it meant for long-term deep
No.
therapy? No, there's dangers in that because who's the human oversight in this to make sure that if
Hmm.
AI gets it wrong, we're still protecting the person on the other end of that.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
yeah, there's so many things in it. It's very, very interesting. And how do we monitor people that are like it doesn't, how does it assess for people who are maybe mentally unwell and addicted or overusing
Hmm.
AI to help support themselves? When does it
Yes.
say, "Oh, you know what? You've been on here for 10 hours straight.
Hmm.
I think you need to go eat and take a drink and get some sleep.
Yeah.
Like that's really important. And I'm going to shut down and I won't be accessible for 12 hours."
Right.
Like AI won't do that, right? And
No,
so
and maybe they should kind of program it to do that. I mean, this is
again,
what
but
it
it's
could,
about the programming and
it
who's
is, it is.
programming it.
And I think that, they learn from this and they need to put those checks and balances in there. I understand why people go to AI because there's no
Mhm.
judgment,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Like
cost effective,
it's
it's
cost effective, no
convenient.
judgment, nobody's looking at you. You can be flawed, and
Yeah.
it's there to support you. When you turn to a human, you're waiting for the judgment,
Yeah.
right?
And that's something I see in the therapy room. I've had
Mm,
people come and they're like, I struggle to come back because I become too vulnerable
mm.
and then I'm embarrassed to show up, right?
Right, right.
And so I really try to normalize, like, oh, absolutely. That's like super normal, right? That we
Mm.
overshare. And then we're like, I can't go back. I'm so embarrassed that I've
Yes.
talked about all that. And I'm like, that's okay. Like, let's talk about that when that shows up. And I will totally help make you feel better about it.
I think the greatest gift we can give ourselves is the vulnerability. And
Hmm.
then, giving our vulnerability to someone we trust.
Yeah.
And we've got to understand our vulnerabilities as owning who we are. That in
Yeah.
itself is our boundary, right? And I think
Right.
that when somebody said to me, aren't you scared about what you talk about? That, Big Brother is
Mhm.
watching you. And I said, what I
Yeah.
hope is they learn something
Yeah.
because I'm going to be open and honest all the way along the line. What you hear from Sarah on her own shows, on other shows, is Sarah. Same person
Yeah.
you'll meet when you meet anywhere else. If I'm talking about something that I think is wrong, I'm owning it. And it's how far do we go in what we own of ourselves and how much do we want to share out with others? Don't share from fear. Caution, yes. But don't, oh, I can't talk about that fearful because Big Brother is coming to get you. Um, yes, but so and so got arrested for this and that, and that, you have no idea what else has been going on there. Yes, it
Yeah.
does happen. And that's if you're really kind of apolitical, etc. But I think
Mhm.
it's like if we're so afraid to talk about our feelings or talk about what we feel is wrong or talk about what we feel we can do to put it right, we've crippled ourselves as a human nation.
Yeah. But I think that, and I love all of what you're saying is like, don't be afraid to do it. But that's the thing. The people that are coming to my office are because they're
Yes,
anxious, they're
yes.
depressed. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe I think these things. And so they're so shameful. They're
Mm.
so closed down because shame and guilt is so
Yes.
strong in them right now. And it's how do we help them pull back those curtains and be like, no, I'm just a normal human being and I'm
Mhm.
struggling. And some things are really hard. And maybe I did some things I'm not really proud of, but
Mhm.
okay, I'm human. And how do I move forward and do
Exactly.
differently and learn?
Mhm. I think that all comes down to self-worth.
Hmm.
Self-esteem and self-worth are the same thing. And if you
Yeah.
have a low opinion of yourself, which very often has been imposed upon you, you're
Hmm.
not enough. Oh,
Yeah.
you can't do this, you can't do that, or you this, and that's generally the person around you. I mean, if you are a vulnerable person mentally, do not be around a narcissist
Yeah.
because they will
But usually
piranha
you
you.
might have grown up around a narcissist
Oh,
and that's
married
your
one.
problem, right? Yeah, or married one. But
Yes,
that's the problem, right? Or someone who's got a very strong, unhealthy personality.
exactly. Because they feed off you and
Hmm.
keeping you there and sucking the life out of you and keeping you where it's always you're not enough, um,
Yeah.
it keeps you in control,
Yeah.
right? And when it's like, no, I am enough for me. I'm
Yeah.
enough for me. You can take me or
Yeah.
leave me, right? And that's where we want to get people because when you become, I'm enough for me, and whether you like me or not really has got none of my business, right?
Yeah.
You can take me or leave me. I won't be offended. You are
Yeah.
now stepping into your own empowerment and you're not
Yeah.
giving your power away. I imagine you get an awful lot of people that are dealing with that.
Yeah, and I often talk to people about like it's that piece of setting, how do I start setting boundaries about what works for me? And the biggest work is honestly, once you set the boundary, I'm like, it doesn't magically feel good.
No.
And people struggle with that. Like, oh, but I feel so shameful and guilt. And what if? And oh, they're getting
Mm,
old. And what if they got sick? And you're like,
yeah.
what if?
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do we set the boundary and know it's going to be really hard and know that our default shame and guilt are going to show up? And then how do we go take care of ourselves while
Hmm.
still holding that boundary? Because we know somewhere inside that we are worth it, that
Yeah.
we deserve to be treated and to only do things that feel good to us.
It's not the what if, it's the what if.
Yeah, yeah, I like the change.
And a great deal of our mental health and everything that we deal with is very much attitude. You know, the youngest person I've
Mhm.
interviewed was 10, and she'd written a book of 365 days of gratitude with a positive attitude. And I think,
Wow.
one of the things we don't have is enough gratitude. We're always looking at
Mhm.
the lackitude, not the gratitude.
Yeah,
And our attitude around things is because the society keeps telling us, no, you need more, you need more,
yeah,
you've got to be more, you need more things, and we never feel
and
full.
do more and be
Do
better
exactly,
and
yeah, and more, more, more. And that, when we simplify and we have less to overwhelm us, we realize how enriched we really are. But
yeah,
it's how to switch off that lackitude, which
yeah,
makes us feel less and makes us feel that we have to go externally to find more, right?
yeah. That piece of slowing down and grounding, right?
Mm,
And pulling back from, and usually it's kind of anxiety that gets us there. How do I pull back from other people's opinions or ideas and look at what actually, I often have people do a simple activity and I'm like, go home and Google values. And I
mm,
want you to find your top three, four, five values. What are the things that are most important to you in the world? Is it family, money, working hard? Is it stuff? Whatever it is, and then we can sit in session and we talk about, are you living your life aligned with those values?
mhm.
And if you're not, how do we start having you do things and live in the world in a way that aligns with what is important to you?
Your own
Right?
authenticity.
Yeah, your own authenticity. Yeah.
Mm. 2026 is around the corner, and people go and set goals for 2026. And then,
Hmm.
by the end of the first month,
Or the week, first week.
it's like, well, the first week, yeah, it's like, I'm not meeting those goals. I must be a failure. How do
Yeah.
we set an expectation of what we desire to do and not give it so big that we're not going to achieve it? How do we kind of, because we always want to approach a new year. This year, how do
Hmm.
we do it in a way that is not going to be overwhelming for us, but still encouraging?
Yeah. And I really talk about like, that's a great goal to, go to the gym 5 days a week, or like we can do anything, right? In a perfect world, we can do anything, we can be anything. But is it actually attainable, or are we just setting an
Mm,
expectation that we're going to not do, not be successful at, and then we're going to go back into this shame and guilt cycle of, oh, I didn't do this, I'm a failure, look what I didn't do again?
yeah.
Or do we say, I'm not going to go to the gym 5 days a week, but I am going to go for a walk for 10 minutes every day?
Hmm.
Is that more attainable? Like, let's look at really what your ideal is and what is something that's practical that you could actually do. And maybe we're just going to take that and pull it back and say, let's just simplify that. That's not going to
Hmm.
happen when you have so much going on in your life. You're already saying you don't have time. So let's just make it easy. Let's make it accessible and not set ourselves up with these illusions of grandeur. And
Yeah.
are we doing these goals for ourselves? Or are we doing them because we should
Ah,
do them?
yeah.
Society says we need to look better, do better, eat better, whatever, like have a
Mm,
prettier home. What is the cost of these goals to us? Because again,
yeah.
we can do anything, but I go back to what's the cost? Sure, you
right?
can do that, but you're going to work 60 hours a week and you're already burnt out. So
Mm,
does that seem realistic? Is that
yeah.
important to you when we go back to like, what are the steps to get there?
The big one for New Year's is I'm going to lose weight, right? And it's like, if there's a few pounds you need to lose, then set a goal by the end of the year, I'm going to have lost 10, 15 pounds, right?
Hmm.
Make it realistic. And
Yeah,
then kind of look at, okay, how can I adjust my meals?
yeah,
I'm going to be vegetarian 2 or 3 times a week. I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. I'm going to drop this, I'm going to drop that. Make it small steps. Because the
yeah,
next thing you know, you've hit March and you've already lost 5 pounds just by a slight adjustment in your life. But I
yeah.
think it's the inch by inch, not yard by yard.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's not I'm going to the gym 5 days a week. It's okay, I'm not gonna like eat ice cream for the weekends anymore and I'm gonna walk.
Yeah,
I'm gonna walk a bit more. I'm just gonna
yeah.
get more active and move my body. Right. So again, make it attainable, not illusions of grandeur that are like, okay, like that's you're just not gonna stick to it.
And also, the thing is, maybe there's something you need to let go in order to insert a new program.
Yeah,
Like this program is really making me rather sluggish. I can drop this and insert something else that I feel I'm more enthusiastic about.
yeah,
So it's a
yeah.
good time to take stock of your life and what you're doing, what's serving you, what isn't serving you, how you can redirect it or maybe delete it and insert something new. This is a good time to kind of like take a good look in reflection. What did
Hmm.
25 give me? What can I let go of? When was I most stressed and overwhelmed?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
can I look at that and change that so in 2026 I don't repeat? So I think it's a lot of the time is sitting with self and really taking stock, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a piece around self-compassion too. Like
Mm,
I'm gonna lose 25 pounds. Okay, great. But like, have you looked at the year you've had, the
yes.
loss, the challenges, the stress? Like, look where you are. Does that really feel like you're being compassionate to yourself and kind? Or are you just trying to hold these idealistic expectations that are just going to make you feel worse and aren't going to move you towards being in a better place, to feeling healthy and to being happier? So again, could it just maybe be, I'm going to move more.
Mm.
And in doing that, I'm going to feel better. And in doing that, I might lose some weight, but do we have to put a number on it?
Right, exactly, exactly. The other thing that really gets people and causes a great deal of stress and depression is money. And
Mm,
they're saying that our cost of living has gone up by 30% and salaries
wow.
haven't gone up that much as well. And that means that you're going to have to cut some things out in your life or
Hmm.
modify various
Yeah.
things of your life. And again, if you have a family or even if you're on your own, I'm a senior. A senior thing hasn't gone up, but everything else
Yeah.
has. And it's like it's so easy to get stressed about that. And it's again, I think
Mhm.
it's kind of that willingness to sit down and lay everything out and what is
Mhm.
absolute you've got to have and what is it you can get go of and what money can you put aside for the things that you really do need, like counseling or maybe a
Mhm.
gym membership or something else that's going to do something. Prioritize. It's hard to
Needs
do if
versus
you
wants.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hard one. I think finances is such a stressful thing for people. Do we have enough food on the table is
yeah.
honestly a question a lot of people have right now, right? And I think the less we have, the more we might grieve that we can't
Mm,
have the commercial version of a holiday
you're
because,
right.
maybe we don't even want it, but because we know we don't have the access to it, it's
Yeah.
just like, even if I can't have my own version of it. But how do we sort of look at moving away from this commercial version of what Christmas and the holidays
Mm,
are and move into what is really, again, what are my values? What's really important to me around the holidays? Is it, dinner? Do the kids need a $400 video game thing? Is that
exactly.
important? Or like, is Christmas less about like massive gifts and tons of money? For some people, it is about the money and the spending and the gifts. And I know people love being able to give gifts. Sure, that's a great experience, but there's so much more we can offer the kids in our lives and other people in our lives that isn't like all about money, right? Let's go out and walk and look at Christmas lights
Yeah.
and spend time together. And so, how do we kind of reevaluate and shift how we're doing things so that it's not all about the pocketbook?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on obviously as a pensioner, very little budget, but I go and buy like the fun things. The
Yeah.
kids always get the Christmas. pants, fleecy ones, comfortable ones, because they wear them all year round anyway. And
Hmm.
obviously buy for the grandkids. But
Hmm.
it's kind of fun little, because everybody likes to open stuff. So it's kind
Yeah,
of opening up fun little things, right?
yeah.
And then we kind of have picked a name, and then that's the one person we buy the gift for, right? And so that makes it all manageable for all of us. But for us, it is about the coming together, the playing games, everybody
Hmm.
cooking, everybody contributing to food, and just everybody just being together. Which when you
Yeah.
have kids, I've got one here in Nanaimo and then two over on the mainland, and everybody's
Hmm.
got jobs or businesses, and so it's getting everyone together is a gift in
Yeah,
itself, right? And I
yeah.
think if going back to looking at the money situation and a cost of living, going back to the gratitude. Well, I'm grateful I still have this. All right.
Yeah.
And I can do without that. That was an
Hmm.
excess. I can do without that. And it's changing our mindset of how we look at something. And
Yeah.
again, our consumerism, everything that's bombarded at you saying you're not going to be happy unless you have this.
You
And
need
that
to go to the mall and have 10 bags of swag and
exactly, exactly. And instead, it's like, you don't define my happiness. I
yeah,
do.
yeah,
I do. If I buy something that I need or I want, that is my choice, not you imposing it upon me. And then that
right.
is taking ownership, right?
Yeah. It's hard because people like, like those $20 gift games when you go to a
Yes.
party, they're fun. But at the same time, I'm like, it's just consumerism.
Mm,
Nobody needs a $20 gift.
yeah.
It's usually stuff we don't use anyways, right? Unless you're a really creative person. And it's like, is there another way we could do that to make a game fun, but isn't about stuff, right? Because that is
Service,
also a pressure
you
for
know,
people to be
um,
like, oh,
I'll look after your kids for an evening while you go
yeah,
out for dinner, or I'll come and help clean your house, or I'll go and do your shopping for you, or I'll mow your lawn for you, or something,
yeah.
all
Or
of
let's
those
make
things.
Christmas ornaments together out of
Yes.
Play-Doh and cook it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly,
Whatever.
exactly. It's kind of reversing back to kind of the past, whether it's Christmas or, you've got birthdays through the year, and it's like, oh
Hmm.
God, I've got so many birthdays. What do I buy? And it's like, can
Yeah,
you make something? Can you buy things through the year when they're on sale and put them aside, right?
yeah,
You still want to be able to give a gift. Go and buy it when it's 50% off.
yeah.
Start
Buy it
buying
on Boxing
Christmas
Day
in
for
September.
next
Yeah,
year.
exactly, exactly. Start buying for Christmas in September or even July.
Hmm.
It's do it bit by bit. And I think that's the
Hmm.
motto of everything to do with mental health, isn't it? Bit by bits. It isn't
Yeah,
about, I say the biggest leap you'll take is the first step.
yeah.
And it's you're not going to jump through life, these big leaps. There are moments in life where it requires you to take a leap. You're getting married, a
Hmm.
new job, or this or that, right? But it's the step by step. And if you get into rhythm with your step by step, then things don't become so overwhelming, and things don't become so fearful, and things don't become so stressful, and you're able to manage the things in front of you. And of course,
Hmm.
if we are talking about people that have bipolar or really do have some chemical imbalances, or people that have gone through trauma, their traumas are going to travel with them. I interview so many people who have gone through horrific things. They can talk
Hmm.
about it now because they're on the other side, but they
Yeah,
had to go through the steps to get there. They're no
yeah.
longer the victim of it. They no longer feel it when they talk about it, right?
Hmm.
They can talk about what happened to them. It's no longer attached to them. And
Yeah, it's desensitized.
yes, we can move forward to a point where we can use it as a form of empowerment to help other people, but not stay in the trauma. And for so many
Yeah,
people is that navigating through the trauma because they feel that they've become the trauma.
yeah. Yeah, they feel overwhelmed by it, right? So how do
Mm,
we, and I think that's where therapy comes in, right?
yes,
How do we go from here to like this isn't working and come to this other side where we get like the post-traumatic growth where people are
right.
like, that was really horrible, but I am of value. It wasn't my fault. I am a good person and I don't get hijacked by it all the time.
Mm,
Right?
hmm
I think that's the biggest thing is I do EMDR therapy and it desensitizes
mm,
the symptoms of a trauma, the panic attacks, the racing heart, the sweating, the overwhelm. We want to take all that down. So if the memory comes up, it's like, oh, that was sad, or I'm sad that that happened, but I'm not physically hijacked like I'm living there again.
yeah. And there is hope for that. And, basically what you're doing is you're taking back your own empowerment and you're no longer
Mhm.
being the victim. So you're not empowering the victimizer because
Yeah,
you are no longer the victim. And when you can look at it from that way, I want to reclaim my life
yeah,
and not stay in the victim mode,
yeah,
then there's that more of that insensitive. But for so many people, it feels like it's in every pore of them.
yeah.
And so having something, as you said, that can desensitize it to a point where they can rationally look at it and
Hmm.
rationally override that programming,
Yeah,
that's hope because so many people are crippled by their trauma.
yeah, yeah. So many people need therapy and don't have access to good
Yeah,
long-term therapy because
yeah,
lots of therapy is short-term. You get 6 or 8 sessions. Well, if I grew up in a dysfunctional home my
yeah.
entire life, I don't need 6 or 8 sessions. I don't need CBT. I don't need to fix my thoughts. I need therapy.
Yes. And depending on how entrenched it is in the body and in the cellular structure,
Mhm.
because it's in the cells, folks,
Yeah.
it's also DNA. It could be
Hmm.
your family's mother and father's trauma that's
Yeah.
you were brought up with as well. Because very often people go, I just don't even know where this came from. But the
The
mother
generational trauma. Yeah.
generational
Yeah.
trauma, right? So and um, even past life trauma, and it's identifying what the trauma is. And being
Hmm.
able to, becoming the warrior over the trauma, no, not the warrior, over the trauma, and going, no, you are not going to dictate my life anymore. And
Yeah.
that is, up to us to
Yeah.
to find the tools and find the person. You can help them walk through it. You can give
Yeah.
them the tools and the skills.
Yeah.
I call it the sunny side of the street syndrome. People are in the dark. They can see people across the street that are all there to help them. They've
Yeah.
just got to get out onto the road. Now, for some people
Hmm.
coming out onto the road, it's too blinding at first. They're too
Hmm.
overwhelmed by it. So walk in the shade until you're ready to
Yeah.
go onto there. And then the people that you need to help you are right there. But
Yeah.
they can't come into the dark to get you. You've got to be willing
Yeah.
to come out to the dark and work with them. They're not doing it for you. They're helping you do
You
it
have
for
to be willing to
yourself.
do the work. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a great analogy. I love that analogy. Yeah, people have to be willing to show up and do the work. You
Yeah.
can come to therapy, but if you're not willing to lean into it, even
Mm,
just in small little bits, you're not going to move forward. You're just going to stay stuck. And occasionally we get people like that, right? They're like, they have the idea that they want change. They know they want it, but they're so stuck. They're just not
mm.
ready to start the journey. And so we just
Defensive.
plant seeds.
Yeah, they're kind of defensive,
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
how they feel and like, oh, you're just like everybody else. You want this and you want that because they're on guard, they're defensive. And let's face it, there are some people who love living in the trauma and the victimization because they love the attention.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
So, and they choose to stay in victim mode. And that doesn't
Hmm.
help them. That causes dis-ease and the body will break down and illness and
Yeah.
everything will come about. We've got to understand a healthy mind is a healthy
Yeah.
body. And,
Yeah.
some people may get an unhealthy body or an accident that happens. And then it's
Hmm.
like, how do they put, they call the mind over matter, but how does the
Yeah.
mind deal with with what's happened to the body? Right? But
Yeah.
we don't want the mind in its distress to cause dysfunction in the body. So we've got
Yeah.
to understand
Yeah.
it's a whole, isn't it?
Yeah. People cut off their bodies when they live in
Mm.
trauma and stress and they stop listening to their
Hmm.
natural intuition. And maybe because that was not inherently safe growing up for
Mm.
them. But how do we come back to listening to what our body's saying? Because our body is so wise and
Hmm.
often really knows what we need, but we get stuck up here. But we
Yes.
want the why. We don't always know the why. We need to feel our way out of it.
Yeah. It's understanding the why to understand the how,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that,
Yeah. That makes
it,
sense.
stuff happened to you, but changing it happened for me. How do I discover my courage, my strength, my abilities, and who I can become despite
Mm-hmm.
what happened to me?
Yeah. Yeah. How do I become that better person, the better version of myself? And sometimes that's really just a small little thing, right? For that, like a person, just a small shift can be so huge for them because they've
Yeah.
never been able to put themselves first or on the
Never had the
radar.
permission. Never had the
Yeah.
permission. Yeah. Always being kept down. And so they don't know what it is to rise up. So,
Yeah. And so again, a lot of counseling again is just about planting seeds. So like, what
Mm,
about this? Like, what if it
mm.
looked like that? Or what if you felt this way? And usually sometimes within a couple weeks or a couple months, people come back and are like, oh, I was thinking about what you said, right? Or like they start to have a little thought that
Yes,
seed's starting to
the
grow, and you're
balloon.
like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So they're starting to start thinking in a way that they haven't previously thought because they maybe didn't know how, or they were just so stuck, right? And so something's starting to shift for them right in that moment.
Yeah, it's, I kind of call it the nudge, nudge, wink, wink before the cosmic two by four, right? You don't want the cosmic two by four, or maybe you've had it
Yeah,
because you ignored the nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But,
yeah.
we are incredibly resilient beings, and we are not meant to live in trauma or distress.
Hmm.
When we step up into our own creativeness, our own essence of who we are beautifully flawsome. And
Yeah.
flawsome is that we've all got flaws, cracks, and broken bits that have made us who we are. But when we put ourselves back together with self-love, we become awesome despite all
Yeah.
our flaws. And I think that's the thing is stop having society dictate who you should be and what your
Hmm.
worth is. Your value, your worth is an inside out job, not an outside in
Hmm.
job.
Well, it's kind of like is I think it's the Chinese that when
Mm,
they like say a
yes.
piece of china breaks, they put
Yeah.
it back together with gold, right?
Yes. I'm saying put
Because
yourself back together with love.
yeah, and so it's kind of that same idea,
Yes.
right? Because
Becomes more
I
value.
people always come and talk about, oh, I have so much baggage. And I'm like, you're 40, you're 50, you're 60.
Yeah.
Is it baggage? Like,
Yes.
or have you just had a life?
Yeah.
Like, if you showed up and had no content here, I'd be wondering what you've been doing all
Yeah.
day. And I'm like,
Exactly.
you've succeeded and you've failed. You've had
Yes.
challenges, you've had triumphs. So, like, let's not like label it in a negative way, right? Let's just look at it for like, this is my life. This was my journey.
Exactly. And the other thing is, a lot of people, and you must get this, seeking help is a failure. No,
Hmm.
no, it's
Yeah.
self-value.
It's
Seeking help.
definitely shifting. I do feel
Yes.
like that therapy is the forbidden or thing we don't talk
Yes.
about to be shameful of.
Right.
It's definitely changing, but I do think the majority, I find the majority of my clients are females. Females are still more likely to seek therapy. So it's interesting the work I do with first responders because there I do get more males.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they don't have a lot of emotional literacy, right? And people
Yes.
always go, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't want to hear their stories. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, they don't come and tell me their horrible stories. They come and tell me how their life's falling apart because they have horrible stories.
Yes.
But it's their marriages, their families, how
Yeah.
they're functioning, right? And I'm like, but when you give them emotional literacy, like how much
Mm.
of like the light bulbs go off and like, oh my gosh, I can do it differently.
I have a genre of global veterans, and I've interviewed an awful lot of veterans through the time. And I'm an anti-war person, but I do respect the veteran that comes back and they see something that they need and they're not getting it, and they create it themselves because they're very
Hmm.
organized and disciplined and structured.
Yeah,
And they go, "We need this, and we're going to do it." And it's like what they end up doing not only for fellow veterans but also for community in itself, because they saw the need and they applied. But
hmm,
through the years of interviewing them, the hardest thing they say is you leave one person and you come back another person, but the
yeah,
people at home are expecting to see the other person,
yeah,
not the person that's come home. And it's how, and some of them have formed retreats from husbands and wives away for the weekend for them to get to know each other now, who they are now, not who they
yeah,
were, because even the people left behind have changed as well, because
yeah,
they're always living in anxiety. Are they, is their spouse going to come home, and they've got to wear
yeah,
all the hats and everything else. And it is stressful. And with the first responders, you think about what they see. And if they
yeah,
don't download it, it's going to combust at some point. And so
yeah,
it's essential that I think if you do have a spouse or a partner or parents that are first responders, you've got to know what are their boundaries of how much you could talk to them about it. But they've also got to learn how to tell you some things without the pain and the angst with it. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
really a border there, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's for them to like get ahead of some of the things they experience and not let it
Mm.
build up. I see one
Yes.
bad thing, I might be okay, but when I'm on number five
Yeah.
or six,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I started shutting down. And
Yes.
so teaching them again about those sort of what are the markers along the way that say, I might not be doing so good. I think
Mm.
I need a little extra, right? I think I need to deal with some of this so that I can come back more myself, more present and connected and be there for my family.
If you're going to be a first responder, you're going to see some horrific things.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to know how to deal with that. What is the
Hmm.
process? How do how do you spend that emotion without
Hmm.
it crippling you? But also then for every awful one is to remember the ones you saved, to
Hmm.
remember the ones that are still here or still
Yeah.
have because of you. And I think it's kind of then looking at the yin yang and weighing it up.
I think it's hard as a first responder because you see it in the
Yes,
moment.
yes,
You don't see what happens after. You
no,
don't see them go home and reconnect with their family and
right,
move to a good place. You just heard them in distress,
right.
right? And so that's the challenge is you get like this the worst snippet and that's it
Maybe
typically.
we need to change the system where that people who really have been saved, need a month, a year, or whatever down the road to kind of reach out to the first responders and just
Do a
say,
follow-up call.
follow-up call, because of you, I am now doing this. I wouldn't be able to
Yeah,
do this if it hadn't been for you. And it's
yeah.
not their ego, it's their reassurance that
It's their
they need.
humanness.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like what I'm doing does count for all the awful things I see. There is good
Hmm.
that comes out of it. We see the awful and the
Yeah.
despair. We need to see the joy for the balance.
Yeah. We need some of the good reviews.
Yeah. And I think, for anybody who's listening to this, if you've ever had a first responder that's come to your aid, look, find out who they are. It's Christmas.
Hmm.
Send them a Christmas card of gratitude and let
Yeah.
them know
Yeah.
where
That's a
you're
great
at now
idea.
because of it, right? And if it's not Christmas, just write them a letter, however long ago it was, and say,
Hmm.
because of you, I'm here, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Let them have the good stories.
Yeah.
Let those
Yeah.
good stories outweigh the bad.
Oh, I love that. I love this idea.
I think, quite honestly, that goes back to gratitude. And
Hmm.
whether you're first responder or whoever you are and whatever you're doing in life, whoever's helped you along the way, or somebody that shared a light bulb moment, or somebody that said the right thing, or somebody that was there nurturing you at a time you needed it and they don't even know they were there for you.
Hmm.
Why can't you drop them a line and say, you know what? I
Hmm.
was in a dark place, or I was here, I was there, just what you said or just that action, because you're endorsing that action, you're being grateful for that action, but then that's showing the impact of something so simple that
Hmm.
person does, and it encourages them to do more. So I think
Yeah.
we so need to step more into gratitude. We do not say thank you enough to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. I think that's a great idea, right? Like, because gratitude is like shown to help with
Mm,
our mental health so much, right? And
yes,
yet it is
yes,
not something we do. And so that's a good little spin with first responders on how to do it. But in general, is there someone in anybody's life that we can turn to and say, you know what, I just want to acknowledge this person's friendship or this
yeah,
kindness or this coffee this person brought me or
yeah.
whatever, right? Someone asking me how my day was when it was a day that was really dark for me, and that
Yeah.
was important.
Your boss. Thank
Hmm.
you for giving me the time out that I needed
Hmm.
and not making me feel guilty or less than because of it. I just
Yeah.
needed that time to regroup. And because of that, I've come back even more diligent. And I think,
Yeah.
it lets them know that if you give your workers space and let them have those moments, they will come back more refreshed and more focused. But if you hold blame or shame or criticize, all you're doing is disintegrating. So, let the bosses know, let whoever it is that's above you know, you giving me that time out, thank you. We've got
And
to
they're going
say
to be
thank
more
you so much more.
engaged
Yes,
employees, right? Because
yes,
they're like, oh, my boss is really nice and compassionate and
yes.
understands life is complicated.
We don't see enough compassion in this world. And I think,
Yeah.
small acts of compassion, small acts of
Hmm.
compassion, the politeness of opening a door. Can I help you carry your
Yeah.
bags?
Yeah.
Thank you for this. So I smile to someone. There's so
Yeah.
much we could do with compassion. We've become
Yeah.
so blinkered. Always like me,
Yeah.
myself, I'm my own, and everybody else
Hmm.
is out to get me. If we start opening ourselves up and saying like, we know others are going through the same thing. How about we come together
Yeah.
and share and support each other? Let's bring the village back.
Yeah. Yeah. We need more, people need a village for sure. I think
Yes,
we've lost that with social media.
we have definitely. So,
Hmm.
my dear, I know you've got a free consult here, complimentary 50-minute phone
Yeah.
conversation for people. Um, but can you tell us a little bit about your process, how you help people? Is it all in person? Is it done online? Is it both? And share your links, please.
My links. So, yeah, I work virtually and in person. It's myself and another counselor at Sandstone Counseling. And so we both work virtual and in person. Um,
By the way, folks, sandstonecounseling.ca, not
yeah.
.com.
.ca is our website. We do offer free 15-minute consultations. People can go online and just directly book right in and see our profiles and kind of see what they like.
Mhm.
Or they can have the consultation if they maybe have a few questions or just want to make sure it's a good fit. I think when we're really nervous and maybe haven't done
Mhm.
counseling before, it's a great opportunity to just realize that we're not scary
Yeah, yeah.
and take some of the fear out of it. And we can just have a quick chat and talk about any questions or concerns you might have. We can tell you a bit about ourselves. So yeah, it's a good way to go. We also are on Instagram at Sandstone Counseling Nanaimo. We have Facebook, Sandstone Counseling. We've got all the things.
Right. And of course, the info at sandstonecounseling.ca.
Mhm.
And of course, on LinkedIn, under your name, Colleen,
Yeah,
Colleen, Franklin, Franklin, dash
yeah,
RCC. So they can also
yeah,
reach out to you there. And,
yeah.
for an awful lot of people, it's like, I just don't know, um, I because of my depression in the past, I was sent to a few people. The only thing is, it ended up them on the couch. And it was like, why are you here? You're so self-sufficient. You're helping me
Yeah.
out, and it just, I'm one of those people. But I do understand that having an ear, having a
Hmm.
support, somebody who knows how to pivot you in a different direction or to look at
Hmm.
something another way, or having the skills and the tools that you can apply. Because what happens when you are depressed or anxious or in trauma, you feel crippled. You don't feel, you
Hmm.
can't see the solution in front
Yeah.
of you. And you need somebody there that understands, that's compassionate, that has the skills and
Hmm.
the tools and knows what you need to apply where you're at,
Yeah.
which is important,
Yeah.
where you're at. And each time you can be a little bit more and a little bit more, you're ready to
Yeah.
grow. But it's not
Yeah.
loading you with everything all at once. It's like
Yeah.
this, just like right now, you may need only breathing techniques, right?
For
So,
sure.
yeah,
Sometimes it's about, can you just drink a glass of water every day? Like,
yeah,
is that our goal? Can we open the curtains? It could be really simple, right? Depending where we're at. And sometimes there's a lot more to it because we might be in a higher functioning state.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's, my mottos of my shows are listen, learn, and apply. So
Hmm.
anybody listening today, you've learned a great deal here. Um,
Yeah.
and the application is, what are you doing for your own self-care?
Yeah.
And really looking in that mirror, or really truly feeling it and listening to yourself. Do I need a little help? Yeah, I can do this. Somebody else to reflect back what they're hearing. Do you really need some skills and tools that you can apply? That
Yeah.
really is important. And I think I think what we're looking at here is your well-beingness is up to you,
Hmm.
right? But we
Yeah.
all need help in
Yeah.
our well-beingness, and there is no shame, no blame, no judgment. It's just simply somebody being able to assess where you're at and go, have you tried ABCD? And then from there it's becomes something, you've got support, you've got somebody in confidence, you've got somebody that's compassionate, and you've got somebody with the skills and tools that you can apply. And I
Yeah.
really want you to go down that road, because I've done it on my own. Maybe it's bloody hard. You really want to do it with somebody that really is there, because they see something you're not capable of seeing. So
Yeah.
reach out to Colleen. She does it in person here in Nanaimo, beautiful BCs, and she also does it online. That's the beauty of online today. Um,
Yeah.
it's the same energy signature you're getting as whether she's in front of you in an office or here. And let her start helping you go down your road of your own well-beingness, because you are
Hmm.
beautifully flawsome. We need you in the world. The more you raise up in your own beautiful essence and empowerment, the more you become the solution to society as a whole. So
Hmm.
take the reins, say you're going to do this for yourself, and reach out. She has a 15-minute consultation. You can have a chat. Do you feel the energy? Do you feel the synergy? But be proactive in your own health. Nobody else can
Hmm.
do that for you. You've got to be proactive. So thank you so much, Colleen, for being here today.
Thank you. It was great.
And have a very Merry Christmas yourself. And, it's all about the gratitude attitude, isn't it? Let's look at differently, know your boundaries. It's okay for you to say no, not at this moment. And,
Yep.
you know, self-care, please,
Hmm.
self-care. Right.
Yeah.
Any tidbits to leave somebody?
Yeah, I think everyone should just think of one thing they can do to take care of themselves today or this week. Just something simple, whether that's just stopping and having a cup of tea or taking a deep breath. But, I think every little piece helps us navigate this stressful time.
And taking a breath, like take five,
Hmm.
taking a breath. So a few deep breaths before you react or before
Hmm.
you do something. I think is number one. Take those
Yeah,
breaths, kind of align yourself before you react.
yeah,
Maybe walk away and then come back when the energy is different. But taking a breath is like huge. And it's
yeah.
something so simple you can do because we all breathe. We're just asking you to take deep breaths
And it's very accessible. We can do it anywhere.
anywhere, anytime, and we should do it more often. So
Yeah,
thanks so much for being here, Colleen, and to
you're
everyone out
welcome.
there.
Thank you.
Whether you're applying all of what we've talked about to Christmas or whether you're applying it to everyday life, these are some skills and tools that you can use in your everyday life because, as again, the more awesome you are, the more everybody benefits around you. So please, you know, please pay attention to your own well-beingness because when you invest in it, I guarantee you everybody is more enriched because of you. So until
Yeah.
next time, bye for now.
Bye.
We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tab at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.